Welcome back to Girl Take the Lead, the podcast where we explore the real, raw, and remarkable stories of people breaking cycles, finding freedom, and leading with courage. And I'm your host, Yo Kenny. Today's guest is Derek Crager, an educator, innovator, and the creator behind Amazon's highest rated employee training program. His journey is one of turning confusion into clarity. Growing up autistic with ADHD and dyslexia, long before any diagnosis helped him understand why the world felt just a little louder, faster, and more complex than it seemed for everyone else. Before we dive in, let's define a term you'll hear throughout the episode: neurodivergent. It simply means a person whose brain functions differently from what society labels as typical. It includes experiences such as autism, ADHD, dyslexia, and more, not as deficiencies, but as variations in human thinking, creativity, and processing. Neurodiversity reminds us that all brains are different and that these differences are necessary for innovation, empathy, and extraordinary problem solving. Derek's own journey from trades work to building the largest company of its kind in Indiana to leading talent development at Amazon gave him a rare perspective on how humans learn, communicate, and thrive. And today he's on a mission to bring human first AI into the world through tools like Pocket Mentor, designed to help people in real time so they never feel stuck or alone again. In this conversation, we explore what it means to unlock neurodiverse brilliance, why empathy is the leadership superpower of the future, how AI and autism run parallel, and what that means for communication. And I learned a lot about communication in this episode with Derek. So here's Derek's story, a powerful reminder that difference is not something to fix. It's something to understand, support, and celebrate. Here you go. Derek, welcome to Girl Take the Lead. I'm really excited to have this conversation with you.
Well, thank you for having me, Yolanda. I'm grateful for you for the invitation. Seriously.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about yourself so that our viewers and listeners get a sense of your background and some of your interests.
All righty. Well, some high points. I just to touch base on my whole life has been flavored with autism, ADHD, and dyslexia. However, I was not aware of this as a diagnosis until age 50, about 8 years ago. So my entire journey through life was really trying to turn confusion into clarity. And that's really the foundation of who I am. I found a lot of what I call shortcuts or subroutines, to throw some engineering speak out there. I started off professionally in trades, which is the blue collar world, turning wrenches and building things in industrial settings. I then spent 15 years in automotive manufacturing, 10 years in my own company, building it to the largest of its size in the state of Indiana. And then I finished up at Amazon, where by this time I had gone from boots on the ground to engineering to process engineering to talent development, which is HR speak for teacher trainer. And my feather in my cap at Amazon was that I built Amazon's highest rated employee training program in company history. And that was last year when I left Amazon. And for the last year, I've been leveraging AI to provide just-in-time knowledge for individuals and for employees at companies to make them feel, I don't know, not so alone anymore.
And is that where some of your thoughts about the untapped neurodiverse talents kind of comes into play with some of these programs that you've developed?
Absolutely. I was at Amazon when I was diagnosed in that neurodiverse spectrum, and I really embraced who I was. First of all, I cried for about 2 weeks just from like understanding, they finally put old Derek in a bucket. So now I belonged and I had people I could connect with. So I leveraged that difference. And it was a big anchor point of my training programs was getting to know yourself and getting to know others in the program. And we didn't even talk about business until like day 2. But the first day was all about personality assessments, behavior assessments, and finding out that, hey, we're different. And maybe something that gets me excited has somebody, diametrically opposed on the personality side. Maybe it scares them. Some people
Mm,
like new and creative ideas. Other people like the tried and true. We've always done it this way. And the successful relationships in life, whether they're professional or personal, I really believe comes from this bridge of trust and respect that's built over an understanding of each other. So
mm,
the autism and the dyslexia and the ADHD is just really part of my story. Maybe it's just my anchor point that allowed me a some exceptional empathy to understand
mhm,
others.
mhm, mhm. And I'm wondering, what would of that, what would you like all employers to know about neurodiverse um, employees and team members and staff that they have?
Well, the term neurodiverse, I think that was coined around 1998 or so, and it was really not from the medical side. It wasn't a diagnosis as much as it was an acceptance, accept this group. And so, what employers should know is that judge your employees based upon the good things they do and don't take that power away from them if they do something wrong. Identify that everybody has positives, pros, and they have
Mhm.
cons against them. And I think it's Dr. Nancy Doyle over in the UK. She has a program she calls Genius Within, and she defines neurodiverse community as really encompassing of everybody. And if you can imagine an XY graph, and on this graph, you've got, let's say, 0 to 10 and 0 to minus 10, and it does nothing more than plots out our skill sets.
Uh-huh.
Now, what the flip side of the neurodiverse coin is neurotypical, which is the normal people, is how it was always presented to me over the decades of my life. But um, on this spectrum, on this graph, the people that are defined as neurotypical are the ones that are like maybe like a plus or a -1. And that skill can be anything in life. It could be social skills, it could be analytical skills, it could be language skills, and there's really no limit to the number of skills you diagram here. But it reminds me of the I think it's a Japanese phrase that every hammer or every nail gets hammered down because it sticks up. Well, the neurodiverse, if you took all our highs and lows, we probably would average out, right?
Mhm.
We might, but instead of a +1 to -1 range, we go from like sometimes a +10 to a -10 range. And the +10s, these are the big Nikola Tesla moments and Albert Einstein moments that have a huge impact in history. But when we display our -10 moments,
Mhm.
and that could be an example of somebody that built something with their +10 capabilities, and then they were asked and they were praised and given a shot to present that to the executive board. I love your ideas, Derek. Let's present it to the board. And then maybe I don't have a skill set of that social connection. So now I'm standing up presenting something, and it sounds
Yeah.
like I have no idea what I'm talking about. And that's the takeaway that people have.
Mhm.
And those things are usually followed in conversations at companies of, we've tried, but you just don't fit our culture. And it's an excuse on the side of the employer, but it comes through ignorance.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
that ignorance is that let's judge people for what they do well and don't judge them for what they don't do well. And I'll put in a piece from Amazon, and living up to, I think, the name of your podcast here, Yolanda.
Mhm.
The best supervisor, best manager I ever had in my life was at Amazon. Her name is Kim Chavez. She's no longer with us, but she did something for me that allowed me an environment to build Amazon's highest training program in company history. And that was she recognized the things I did well, and
Mm-hmm.
she covered for me. She had my back on the things I didn't do so well.
Mm-hmm.
And we worked great together as a team. And I don't know the inside on why it was that way. I do know her entire family. She does have a son that's autistic himself. And so even though she was younger than me, I looked at her as a mother figure because
Mm-hmm.
she treated me with respect, and she was that perfect example of I think servant leadership that you can have in
Mm.
a professional environment.
Oh, well, it's so great that you had somebody like that who had your back. Yeah, when you're talking, I'm thinking too, not none of us have all the skills. We're all always missing something. None of us get, performance evaluations that are always 5 stars. It's like, no, average threes. And we always have things to work on. But how wonderful that you could show us, like what some of those skills might be and how we can work together and partner so that everybody wins, right? We get great programs that, you put together and um, we move everything forward. Oh, that's so smart. And too, my last name was Chavez before I got married. So there we go.
Excellent. What a
She's a
connection.
saint
I
in
love
my
it.
book.
I love it.
And you talked a little bit about AI, and tell us more about how you use that in your programs and in your community.
Well, AI, before I dive into the connection part there, I believe AI and autism are run parallel. They tell us that for AI, we have to be prompt engineers that ask the right question in the right way so we can get the right answer. So it's verbal programming, English language programming.
Mhm.
And for those of us that are autistic, when somebody asks us a question, what we hear is the words as they are defined, let's say in Encyclopedia Britannica, and we respond accordingly. So we miss out on the social cues, and we might come up with a response that puts us as an outsider. Well, that's not what I was talking about, Derek. And it's the same thing that happens with AI when we ask a question of AI and it gives us some crazy answer.
Yes.
I know that being autistic, when somebody had asked me a question, I would have this answer that would seems like it would come from the edge of the universe, but I was there. I could see it up
Yeah.
close, but I just don't have the understanding, or I didn't to present it that way, through that lens. So I think the fact that we have AI now gives neurotypicals the ability to understand the autistic community more so than they have in any other point in history.
Mm.
And how I use AI, when I was at Amazon, I built that program, and I had a lot of volunteers. I'm a project manager certification, so I had the ground rules. But the biggest thing that they say is that you have no power, Derek, when you're a project manager. So you have to elicit input from others, mostly voluntarily on their own schedule. So I was able to put together that program using all the tools at Amazon's disposal, which were also
Mhm.
at my disposal. And I had maybe, 100 volunteers that some of them gave 10 minutes of their time, some of them gave days and months of their time, and then a lot of them in the middle. But it was aligning all of that to, and thousands of hours of people work to create and deliver that program. So what I've done since then is I want everybody to experience the benefit of having just in time knowledge, meaning that, gosh, I'm missing that one thing. What is it? It's on the tip of my tongue. Who do I ask? And for most of us in most situations, we don't have anybody to ask. And
Mhm.
those of us that are in the autistic realm, we're distanced a little bit further away from that norm. So I developed a product that I get income from the corporate sales, and it allows me to help give to the to the small programs and organizations that are nonprofits. So I have a good balance here. And what it does, I use AI to as a conversational voice. And so
Mm.
imagine, if you will, the subject matter expert on any topic. If you could talk to them, what would you ask them and say,
Mhm.
hey, I'm doing something similar. I know you've done this. Will you talk me through it?
Mm.
And if I have that power and the confidence in me to call somebody, and, because I'm assuming that I'm so empathetic, I assume that they're busy and I'm not worth their time and yada,
Yeah.
yada.
Yeah.
So, what we do, we document all the knowledge of that subject matter expert and allow everybody in an organization, whether it's a profit or nonprofit organization, to benefit from that knowledge and have true conversation. And it's
Mm.
hands-free and eyes-free conversation, just like we would call mom or dad or grandma or grandpa and say, "Hey, I'm doing this. Can you talk me through it?" And
Yeah.
it passes a barrier to the human realm, because it's this anthropomorphized version of AI that is so much different than the tactile interface, of clicking away on a keyboard.
Yeah.
And so we do that to give those that feel alone the option to not feel alone again, and to ask questions. How do I do this without the fear of being judged, which happens
Mhm.
so often
Yeah.
for neurodiverse and neurotypical both, and even more so at the beginning of a job or beginning of a project. I
Mhm.
don't want to identify that I don't know something because they hired me or I volunteered for my
Yeah.
knowledge and now I don't have it. So it's a way to give self assurance and support in a very patient and
Mhm.
sometimes humorous um, voice to connect that person. So
I bet
that's
it
the
does.
connection I'm using AI today, to deliver the same performance for organizations as I did at Amazon.
Mm. I can really get that because I use AI every day. I use Chat GPT every day, like to do. It's like my social media manager. I just totally love it. But my daughter was telling me that she likes talking, like putting things out there that she's feeling, almost like um, getting some understanding of some of the complexity that she's experiencing. And I think the more that we refine our questions and bring these things forward, like you're doing, it's going to be so helpful for people, so that we do feel like we're understanding ourselves a bit more, that we're not alone, and that there's other people like us. I love that. So I think kudos to you for doing that. I think that's
Well, thank
great.
you.
Um, so one of the things I wonder about is for all the caregivers that are out there, all of the family members, or how can they be more supportive?
I would recommend the What is Neurodiversity by Nancy Doyle on the
Mhm.
geniuswithin.org website. I have no affiliation with Nancy. I just know that when I first saw her graph and her explanation of what is neurodiversity, it flipped a switch in my brain.
Okay.
And I thought, oh my gosh, yes, now I understand at an empirical level, not just kind of like which way the wind's blowing, but I understand. It feels like I understand everything now, kind of like the key to the universe,
Yeah.
because it's we shouldn't be judged as people. We should be judged on our individual performance for each item. And at the end, if the scales balance out in our favor, well, then I think we're doing good in life.
Yeah, definitely. We covered a little bit about what you're doing with your AI consulting, or and also your nonprofit. Are there other things that you want to say about that? Go a little.
Well, I believe we're at a fork in the road and with AI. And we're at a fork in the road from a worldview, and certainly, each of the countries that are out here that, dictate policy. And of course, there's the policy of economics. It's which way the masses flow. And that fork in the road is, the big headline is the fear of losing my job because AI is going to replace me.
Mm,
And we can adopt that mentality, but there's negatives to that. Are there jobs that AI can and should perform for us? Yeah, absolutely. Menial, repetitive task that takes our mind and distracts us off the big picture. But if we turn over all of our assets to AI, we're going to put ourselves in this box. And the biggest companies in the world, if they adopt AI as a replacement mechanism, they're going to lose the value of their workforce. Their workforce is going to lose, they're going to lose the loyalty that's there, and they're going to be working in fear. And the biggest it's going to be a win in the short term, but a loss in the long term, because long term, you lose all that creativity of individuals that think outside the box.
mhm.
AI can only be programmed to think inside the box. That's the definition of what we paint. We might grow that box at some point, but the only way we grow the box is to keep us as individuals um, individual thinkers. And so I represent the other side of the coin. I believe that AI should be here to augment humans to be irreplaceable. And I described a little bit a moment ago, but I'm writing about it. I have a book called Human First AI, and I speak of it in story fashion. It's not a technical book. It's really an understanding of the two choices that we can make. And if you're looking to put humans first, it's a game plan on how to adopt a human first mentality. And I think it's so important if we just augment the humans with the knowledge that they need when they need it, we reduce cognitive load on the brain. And some of these things, I was speaking to a Internet of Things engineer earlier today, and that's Internet of Things is really nothing more than monitors and stuff on manufacturing floors that integrate. And actually, like the Alexas that are out there, that's really an IoT or an Internet of Things device. And he was saying that on the technical side, these companies have this technology installed, and then the person that installed it, within 4 or 5 years down the road, when it needs an update or replacement, that subject matter expert is gone. And so they end up having to either buy something new, or their manufacturing process gets shut down. Whatever happens, they're in a world of hurt, and then they have to create from new again. So he said, Derek, he said, can't we document that knowledge at the point of installation and archive it until it's needed? And he suggested, how about just putting a QR code on that box, whatever the device is, and it says, in case of loss of knowledge, break glass, and somebody can just tap it with their phone, and they can talk to an expert that is like that subject matter expert that was there 4 years ago, but at the height of their knowledge, so they can ask all the questions, get all the answers that they need, keep machines running, keep human component flowing. And I said, man, that's a great idea. And so uh, yeah, that's an example. It's
Yeah.
it's and it's not knowledge we need to keep with us all the time. It's only like that one time a year, kind of like, hey, how do I change the toner in the laser printer again?
Yeah.
I need it for right then. And do I want to spend hours digging out and figure it out myself? Or what if I just had that magic button that I could tap? It says, oh, that's the HP 4410. Yeah, just open the front door, push in the two, and just
Yeah.
go through the
Yeah.
process. And the knowledge is there when I need it. And then as soon as I'm done, I don't have to think about it. And I don't have anxiety of trying to remember it for the future, because it's always there.
Yeah. I think that's so great because there's so many things we don't need on a daily basis, but so you try and document and you try and put it in a place that you'll remember where you put it and document it. And which notebook did I put that in? Like, where are those instructions? Which file? So I think that's marvelous that you're coming up with these ideas to really put together. Um, so Derek, how can our listeners find you and support you and learn more? from you?
The book, and right now the first chapter is available to read online for free. It's humanfirstai.net. So humanfirstai.net. And then personally, you can find me on LinkedIn. I have a good presence there. And then the company that does the company side, and we also have a link to our nonprofit community on the company site. And you would find that at practicalai.app. So that's practicalai.app, apple, pear.
Well, given that you found out your diagnosis at age 50, I always love to ask our guests, what would you tell your 20-something self today?
um, wow. 20 something. I was just starting a family, working all kinds of hours, trying to make sure that I, had the old family plan covered. But I would say be patient, be inquisitive, and trust yourself.
Mm, I think that's great for all of us. And the last question, I don't know, did you get a chance to go to our online store? Was there something there that I could send you?
It was for my wife, and
Uh-huh.
it had that. I don't know if it's straight "You Go Girl," but it was something like "You Got This,"
Yeah,
one
okay.
of those. So yeah, thank you for asking. I haven't told my wife, so it'll be a surprise for her. And you have my gratitude for sending anything, Yolanda. Appreciate it.
Well, we want to always support families, so that's good. Well, Derek, so thank you so much for joining us. I think you educated us a lot and keep our minds open and understanding of others. We're all different. We're all different. And so the more that we can understand each other, the better. So thank you.
You're quite welcome, and thank you for the message and the vision and mission that you have, and thank you to all the listeners that are out there.
Mm. What an eye opening and deeply human conversation with Derek. He's a leader who shows us that brilliance often lives in the extremes, in the plus tens and minus tens, and in the places where we don't always fit the mold. If today's episode resonated with you, you can connect with Derek and learn more about his work by looking at our show notes. Derek's favorite item from the Girl Take the Lead heartfelt card and gift shop was the uplifting encouragement sign he chose for his wife, a reminder that support is a family affair and that we rise higher when we lift one another up. Here's 3 takeaways from today's conversation. 1, neurodiversity is the human experience. We all have peaks and valleys, and embracing them unlocks empathy, strength, and innovation. 2, human first AI is the future of learning. When knowledge arrives exactly when you need it, confidence grows and overwhelm dissolves. And 3, empathy unlocks brilliance. The leader who sees your strengths and supports your gaps creates space for your gifts to shine, just like they did for Derek. As always, thank you for listening, for sharing these stories, and for walking alongside on this journey of courage and connection. If you enjoyed today's episode, please follow the podcast, leave a review, or share it with someone who needs a reminder like this one today. Next week, we'll be joined by Nancy Griffin, a connector, influencer, and founder of Women, Worth, and Wellness. For decades, Nancy has empowered women to elevate their health, wealth, philanthropy, and personal leadership. She inspires daring and caring leaders to step up, lead boldly, and feel fabulous, generous, joyful, and confident every single day. Don't want to miss this beautiful kickoff to the holiday season. Until then, take care of your heart, lead with courage, and remember, we got this. Talk soon. Bye.